Well, a very, very happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is December 17th of 2025, and on today's episode, we're just going to kind of catch up in the world of sports. I got a couple of baseball stories to talk about. Um, we will talk about the matchup between the Bengals and the Miami Dolphins this Sunday. Both teams are practically eliminated from the postseason. So I guess what are they fighting for, right? Tua Tagovailoa will be benched, and if we talk a lot of things about the Cincinnati Bengals side of things, and I'm fighting for redemption. I'm fighting for a strong finish off the season, despite everything that's kind of unraveled. That has just been aggravating to pay attention to. So there are a few things that we are interested in talking about. So we'll talk about that. I also have an article from, where is this from? From CageSideSeats.com. It was an article put out by Sean Reiter earlier today. He had a chance to sit down and interview with MVP, and MVP kind of expresses the differences between working for Tony Khan and AEW compared to working with Triple H or Paul Levesque and WWE. So we'll share a little bit of insight with that. Before I start today, I want to invite you to come on to this podcast and have a sports conversation with me as we get ready for this new year. If you guys want to leave a comment and find this comment shared with you on our episodes or be a future guest on our podcast, be sure to reach out to me through the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. That is the most direct direction that you can get in contact me with. And I encourage you just to head on over there, reach out to me, and let's have a good sports chat here, any day of the week, so to speak. So let's go ahead and start off with MVPs. So the headline to this, and I'll post a link below so you guys can check out this article. MVP compares working for AEW and Tony Khan to working for WWE and the Nose. Montel Vartavius Porter bluntly says current boss Tony Khan is quote unquote better person than Paul Triple H Levesque. And so I'm actually interested in reading this. It's kind of a behind the scene things. We kind of get we have kind of gotten different sides of, or different takes of what it's like working with WWE, who has been well established for decades now, that has adapted with the times. Also, having conversations with, what it's like working with this new AEW company. And I've heard mixed stories first, but I want to hear what MVP said about this. And it's kind of, I can't create an opinion for myself. I can create a thought based off of what I have heard in the past. There are some positive things that I've heard. There are some negative things that I've heard, but I have not experienced it. I don't work for WWE. I don't work for AEW, but to be able to understand is directly seeing one of these, one of a former athlete that's been through both sides of the table. So you talk about guys like Sting, Chris Jericho, Dean Ambrose, Samoa Joe, Cody Rhodes, in retrospect, and you kind of want to hear what they have to say. So this is coming from MVP, who is now explaining here on this podcast what he thinks about the difference between AEW and Tony Khan versus WWE and Paul Levesque. He first starts off and says, Tony Khan allows more input. Tony, he has his vision that he wants, and he works with the latest talent and allows a lot more input from the talent into what creative path is going to happen. Whereas the nose, Triple H, he is a little bit more directorial. Emphasis on, I'm not going to say the word, but it starts with a D. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And this is what I want. Whereas Tony Khan would say, well, this is what I want. And you can say, okay, Tony, but what about if we put this on? And Tony invites the input with that guy, Triple H, you're referring to. There's only a handful of people that would say are allowed to have that kind of input. And you can debate it good or bad, but I think Tony, I'm just going to be blunt, I think Tony is better human being and a better person all around than this guy. So definitely a better person to work for and a much better working environment. Here's what I have learned over time between Tony Khan and Triple H. Tony Khan runs AEW. At the end of the day, he is a fan by nature, and what he wants to see is what he's going to get. He is a fan that is open to receiving constructive feedback and allow presentations to better his company. But at the end of the day, the one thing is certain from both sides of the field, and that is Tony Khan in WWE and Tony Khan and AEW is going to do what they want. It's their business. It's their money well spent. Now, Tony Khan I've heard this both ways. Yes, Tony Khan welcomes feedback, input into what goes on to making a podcast or making a show. But what Tony Khan does is that if he wants to see a feud, if he wants to see a match, there is nothing stopping him with wanting to see that match. Maybe there's a little bit more creative aspect from the actual wrestlers putting on the match on what they want to do during the match, how they want to get the story over. And I think that's great. So it's kind of a hit or miss. I think when you have a fan who owns a wrestling company who wants to see, the talent in a spotlight, and that's why he's provided this type of company to rise, you're giving the fans what they want because it's a fan who is running the company. You're just getting different types of storylines. The one thing that does not sit well with me when it comes down to AEW is that everything goes from 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. There is no room in between, allowing growth, slow build up. And what I mainly refer to that is there are match stipulations I think AEW is definitely known for that you would never see in WWE. But they use these matches so much and so frequent that for me, it kind of ruins the quality of that type of match. WWE Elimination Chamber happens once a year. Survivor Series War Games happens once a year. WWE does not use these. They have stipulations of I Quit matches, steel cages, Hell in a Cell, and they don't get used often because the analysis is, well, where does that make sense in the storyline? We're telling the overall story. AEW will be notorious for using death matches, cage matches, week in and week out, because it is a more direct, upfront company that wants to see this feud right now, not built up for 3 months. They want to get to the point, get to the stipulation, reveal blood and guts, on a daily basis. And for me, as a fan, and maybe I'm just a WWE prone guy, but I don't want to see blood each and every week. I don't want to see stipulations that are unethical each and every week. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool when you throw out these long light sticks, or you put out, people falling from cages, or people stapling themselves, or people using forks. It becomes a little bit corny after a while, if I do say. And for me, because I've seen it, it's nothing new. I don't go get excited seeing blood drawn on an AEW show. I don't get excited or get shocked on the edge of my seat when I watch someone fall from a steel cage, or when I watch somebody get, put through a table, because it happens so often that the excitement, the holy crap moment, the what is next, this is awesome chant, that doesn't subside with me anymore, because it's a repetitive thing. As when WWE does it, it seems to amaze me, because even though their boundary, their limit, they don't present that on a weekly basis. They don't present that in every storyline, and they keep it reserved and only bring out these stipulations when necessary. And so this, prime example is, it is, I think, a common notorious thing now, both in AEW and WWE, that someone jumps off the War Games cage. Io Sky has done that. The thing is it? Yeah, Io Sky has done, no, Kairi Sane has done that several times. No, Io Sky has done that several times. Okay? And we've seen that happen back-to-back years. And for me, back-to-back years, it still surprises me that we were able to, be treated to somebody jumping off the cage. It's something that it doesn't happen quite often. Okay? We didn't see, or I don't remember seeing anyone from the men's War Games do the same thing. So all I'm saying is that when you have blood and gut matches like AEW has, and I know that's one of the things that defines what AEW is, and I'm fine with it. It's just I'm not starstruck every single time, because it happens so often. Tony Khan is capable of allowing things to happen. WWE, let me just remind you that Paul Levesque and Nick Khan are under management under TKO. And TKO is going to have the final say of things. There's going to be a tighter ship in a tighter direction that the WWE wants to see. There's a lot of creative personnel behind stage working at each matches. And sure, maybe you have the leverage if you are Cody Rhodes, if you're Roman Reigns, if you're Seth Rollins. Maybe you have a little bit more input and say and leniency on what happens in your matches or how you think a storyline should be directed. But the WWE is always going to do what they think is best for business. And I'm sorry, no disrespect to MVP. I think he's a great talent. I enjoy watching him compete. But what I could tell you from my experience is that his caliber is not at the top of the food chain. You got to remember, this man left WWE under his own will, decides to come back in this picture, and wants to think that he's that he's belongs in a location that I don't believe he's earned. And so I would always encourage throwing out ideas until you're blue in the face. If every idea gets shut down, the chances are one of them may be considered. But WWE has been around for 30, 40, 50 years, for so long now. It has had success in the past, and we're seeing success now. And there's a reason behind it. It's what WWE does. That's how they operate. Don't break what's not broke. Don't fix what's not broken is the cliche statement here. So, do you really? What do you do? What do you expect? Do you blame the WWE for being a little bit uptight, for saying, "Look, we want you. We really believe in this way is the best way." At the end of the day, it sucks because it is your career, and you should have a say in that freedom to be able to have some sort of say of how you want to see this feud. If you're going to be feuded up with somebody, go down. But, I would put a lot of trust into WWE. It can get aggravating. I see both sides of the field. It can get aggravating if you're trying to grow and ideas after ideas after ideas that the WWE has continued to fail. And you're like, well, you're not listening to me. I completely get that. But, it's another perspective. I do see it very true that Nick Khan allows a lot of input. Maybe he goes and allows things to happen. But, at the same time, he's a wrestling fan. So, I mean, there's just going to be critics, and this is an endless debate because you have the people on the left side where they are rooting pro AEW, negative WWE, and then vice versa on the other side. So it's one of those unfortunate things that you hear these stories, you understand. For some reason, I don't want to consider this a biased opinion. I still like WWE's word of things, of how things happen. But nevertheless, that was MVPs. Like I said, I will submit that link in the description below today's podcast so you guys can read exactly what he has said. Personally, if you guys have your own thoughts and takes on it, I encourage you to reach out to me through our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, and that way you can I can hear what you guys have to say. Well, Cincinnati earlier this week has announced that in 2026 they will have 4 men be inducted into their Hall of Fame class. Former players Brendan Phillips, Aaron Herring, and Reggie Sanders were selected alongside former manager Lou Piniella. Phillips was a second baseman for the Reds from 2006 to 2016 and became one of the most popular players of all time. He's won 4 Gold Gloves throughout his time on the team and earns 3 NIL All-Star selections. Aaron Herring, who played for the Cincinnati Reds from 2003 to 2010, was a starting pitcher and an impressive list of records. In 2006, he led the NL in strikeouts, reaching the total of 216. Aaron Herring also led the Reds to strikeouts in the 2004, 5, 6, and 7, and 9 seasons. Sanders was an outfielder for the team from 1991 to 1998, who earned an All-Star selection in 1995. And then Lou Piniella, or like we call him, Sweet Lou, started managing the Reds in 1990. That same season, he led the team to a World Series where they came out victorious. He went on to manage the Cincinnati Reds for 2 or more seasons after that. The Reds said Phillips and Harang received the most votes in the 8 nominees on the Modern Player ballot selected by Hall of Fame election governance committee. The ballot was included votes from fans, members, and media, and Reds alumni. Sanders and Piniella were selected by the Veterans Committee, which chooses inductees whose playing careers ended more than 15 years ago among managers and executives. So that is your class of 2026 for the Cincinnati Reds. I think that is now 96 Reds players inducted into the Hall of Fame overall. I think with one of the most rich history set of players or team organizations in all of baseball, it is great to see these guys be inducted. It means you have to do something correct. I grew up on the back end of Aaron Harang, know how tough it was to bat against him. Brandon Phillips was an exciting player to watch at second base throughout his career. And just loved the energy and loved everything that he gave Cincinnati during his duration. It was one of those things where, you had that right side locked down with Brandon and Joey Votto, and it was a great combination. You knew you're getting constant players. It also feels like this end of an era in professional baseball overall, because we had this was kind of like the last time where you saw a lot of players stay with one team throughout their career. Phillips did ended up moving on to some other teams in the back end. Didn't last too long, but Joey Votto was with the team for majority of his span. And, I think guys like Lou Piniella and Reggie Sanders are just classics I think we should be remembrance of. So I'm excited to see how they honor them this year. Can't wait for the Hall of Fame ceremony this summer. I think it'll be great to see Brandon back at the ballpark. Would love to watch. I would love to watch the induction of Sweet Lou. And these are time frames that has really put the Reds on the map. So obviously there are stories out there about the twin brothers in the final game. I think it was a 99-2000 season where you had the Boone brothers and the Larkin brothers all play in the infield at the same time. And I think it was Steve Larkin that hit a 3-run home run. Or no, I don't know the in-depth story, but I know that the two brothers, the four brothers there's two sets of brothers on the team playing in the field at the same time. And one of the brothers hit a 3-run home run to left field. And then you had the other one of the Larkins, the brother Larkin, under Barry, hit a single, his first major league, hit, and that was kind of all that was said for his career. Those are fun moments to cherish, and watching Brandon Phillips and Aaron Harang and Piniella also cherishable moments. I'll let you read the article that I found for this one. It was written by Grace Irwin, trying to give you some insights. It was posted last night on the WCPO Cincinnati website. So, kind of want to just lurk around Major League Baseball here today. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Bengals and Miami's in a preview heading into this weekend. But I want to make something apparent. I'm always going to remind you about this offseason because when we look back at this offseason, it's going to be the story of, well, what I wish would have happened. And we're kind of judging based off of the reactions and what we see exposed from both the Bengals and the Reds. So let me start off with the Reds. So we know the Reds indicated heading into this offseason that they were going to be on a low budget stamina. They claimed that they didn't have a lot of money to spend on talented players. Well, during the winter meetings, we discovered that Emilio Pagan was being signed as the Reds closer, offered a 2-year, $20 million contract. If you think about that, that's about $10 million per year in concept. And yes, it does give us a closer, but a lot of people took to surprise that we would spend that much money for a closer when we didn't really have money to spend. There are other needs that we're looking at. Well, then the whole conversation and the battle for the Kyle Schwarber deal, which Kyle Schwarber landed in Philadelphia, $150 million on a 5-year term. Well, it was revealed that the Reds have offered Schwarber a 5-year, $125 million. It was rejected. But what this indicated to our fan base and to us, it doesn't blindside anybody, is that they were willing to go over budget. Because if you break down this 5-year, $125 million, if I'm not mistaken, that's $25 million a year you'd be paying into a Kyle Schwarber. Well, that's a lot more over budget than what we expected to pay of any player at all. And you've also exposed to everyone what you are willing to go up to. So if you're another player at the top of this list, Cody Bellinger, Kyle Tucker, let's just say there's any glimmers of hope that we can offer them a contract that would be compelling enough to bring them to this organization. They know that we just got done willing to offer Kyle Schwarber $125 million. That may not be the case for some of these top guys, but they know that it should be almost a payday at $15 to even $20 million a year, which could be, roughly $100 million, just like that. We saw Pete Alonso, who is another guy on our radar this season, be signed to the Baltimore Orioles. And coming out of yesterday, second baseman Jorge Polanco has agreed to terms with the New York Mets for 2 years, $40 million. Now, if you went back to our wish list that we had, Jorge Polanco was on that list. Jorge last season was batting .265, has 64 runs batted in, or 78 runs batted in, 64 runs scored, 26 home runs off of 6 stolen bases. He's going to join an infield with the Mets that are trying to make up on a smaller budget from losing Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz. Earlier this offseason, we've seen the Mets pick up Devin Williams, and now adding Jorge Polanco to the infield, which is already going to consist of Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Francisco Lindor at short, and possibly even Marco Semien in that mix of things. Now, this is one player that we could now cross off our list, as our interest apparently lies within guys like Brandon Lowe or Ketel Marte. The longer the offseason sits and the longer we scoot away from those rumors that were during the winter meetings, the unlikely to see those transactions happens. Because the longer we see those transactions up in the air, the more chances that other teams that are willing to spend a little bit more to get these players are going to receive them at the forefront. And look, I get it. It is a strategy game. I don't think that we need to give up anything big for Ketel Marte, but if our offseason is only being consisted off of signing Emilio Pagan, then I feel like we are kind of in step backwards in this sense. Came a report yesterday that the Reds picked up Caleb Ferguson, a left-handed pitcher out of the bullpen, 1 year deal but that was all that was disclosed. Um, it's one of those things that we know the Reds expose themselves. We know what they're willing to spend, or what their cap is. How come we can't invest in putting that cap into another player? Maybe it's not just one player. Maybe it's 2 to 3 players that we could definitely utilize on some sort of list. Um, so this kind of is relevant to the same situation that we're kind of in the same category that we're talking about with the Bengals. They're kind of showing us, hey, we're in charge, regardless what we say or what we do. It doesn't matter. You're going to be stuck with us, and you're going to have to just deal with it. And I know we're at the end of, we're halfway through December. We're still waiting for, a lot more things could happen between now and next February. But coming up next in January is arbitration. And I just get that feeling that arbitration, there's not much more deals coming afoot at this moment. So I get a bit concerned. It's like it's kind of deceiving when you see what we have to offer to spend. It didn't work through with one player, but then we're not seeing any more aggressiveness coming from Nick Krall or the Castellinis. That for me is just really upsetting. All right. Before I continue, I want to give you I want to talk about Enlighten Studios in 2026. They're kicking off the new year with their new theater production called Grassroots. We invite you to come out to the performance at the Artsville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio. From February 20th through March 1st, tickets are still available by visiting tickettailor.com. A link in the description will be provided below. Come on out. Support Enlighten Studios as they continue to grow in their theater production, and we're trying to grow overall as a unit. All right. San Diego is dealing with some controversy with the Padres. It has already been disclosed that the Padres are looking to sell the team. The Seidler family are not interested in the Padres, and when they can, they will sell the team. They also hired new manager Craig Stammen, former relief pitcher for the Padres, as Mike Schmidt announced his retirement and his departure from the Padres, only to be picked up by another team. I believe it was the Baltimore Orioles. No? Something like that, maybe? Anyways, it continues to unravel because a little thorn in the side that they've been dealing with over the last couple of years is a Hall of Fame class pitcher, Yu Darvish. And then a report that came out yesterday, and this has kind of been up in the air, but Yu Darvish is thinking about retiring. Back in October, he underwent surgery to repair his torn UCL and his flexor tendon. Expected about 12 months to 15 months in recovery time. Last season, Darvish was 39 last season. He went 5 for 5, pitching a 5.38 ERA, striking out 68 batters in 72 innings. Darvish. Let's get this video back on. See what happens here. All right. There we go. Sorry for the audio delay or video delay for you guys. But Darvish has this intellectual contract. So he's been out last year, kind of pitched a little bit. He's been dealing with this injury. He's going to have surgery. He's not focused on returning to pitch yet again. His main primary is to focus on getting healthy, which I think is great, first and foremost. But now there's an kind of a lingering rumor out there that he, at age 39, with the type of injury that he's had, we could possibly see a retirement coming from Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish still has 3 seasons left with the Padres. And if he's not being, he's going to be out for next season already. But here's the interesting note. For 2026, he's expected to get paid $16 million. In 27 and 28, both years, he's expected to get paid $15 million. If he decides to retire, he will be forfeiting and giving up the remainder of his contract, allowing the Padres payroll to expand. So don't forget, right now the Padres are paying Yu Darvish as he recovers from his surgery. Next season, he's expected to make $16 million. Now, as long as he's willing to be out there, whether it's recovery, whether it's another surgery, as long as he's out there saying, I still want to play baseball, and he's going to hold up to his end of the contract of wanting to play, the Padres will pay him $15 million in 27 and another $15 million in 28. That is $46 million that the Padres are going to eat up. And there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to bounce back, not only to make a big league return, but to be able to play at the state that he was capable of playing at. But the Padres is trying to kind of re-navigate some of their contracts moves, and this is one that's kind of biting them in the ass. Yu Darvish has played for 13 seasons. He's 115 and 93 record, 3.65 ERA, with 2,075 strikeouts and 1,778 innings pitched. He's a 5-time All-Star. And so far, coming up here next season, the year that Darvish will not be a part of, the Padres rotation at the moment looks like this: Nick Pivetta, Joe Musgrove, Randy Vasquez, J.P. Sears, and Kyle Hart. And so, yes, a caliber like Yu Darvish is necessary for a rotation and very valued. But it doesn't do a ball club any good at the back end of a career where there is an uncertainty about his future as a pitcher. Now, we go back into this, the Padres will want nothing more than Darvish to decide if he wants to retire. I think the Padres will encourage him to retire, as it would free up $40 million in payroll. But if they are capable of getting him back in healthy, pitching the last 2 seasons of his career, then there's a possibility they're going to utilize and milk every ounce that Yu Darvish has to offer. If I'm Yu Darvish, I'd sit on $46 million, to be honest. Over the next 3 years, focus on getting healthy, not rush to get back into the Major League Baseball. But if I was also Yu Darvish, there's a little bit of integrity in wanting to salvage any image and just being able to say, hey, I was able to return to baseball, play maybe a partial of the season, go out where I feel comfortable. Hey, I was able to give you a couple innings, maybe move to a bullpen position, but this is all I have. I'm going to retire after the end of this season. But the Padres, in the meantime, are in a sticky position. Sticky. All right, we'll wrap up this this podcast with a little sneak preview heading into Week 16 as the Bengals are over in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium to take on the Miami Dolphins. And it looks like the Dolphins who are eliminated from the postseason, are moving in the directions of salvaging their quarterback Tua Tagovailoa by benching him the rest of the season, especially this game, as they look to send out Quinn Ewers against the Bengals this Sunday. Look, everything is on the table regarding to benching Tua. Followed, officially, Miami officially eliminated from the playoff contention. Rookie quarterback Quinn Ewers will start against the Dolphins, against the Bengals. Mike McDaniel said, well, I think the quarterback play list last night was not good enough. So for me, everything is on the table. So this is where we see Tua Tagovailoa. He has another couple years. Remaining contracts. 2025, he's at $40 million, and he moves his way up over the next couple of years to $60 million. He's only 27 years old. He went 22 to 28 and 253 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. Took 4 sacks in the loss, but the box score doesn't reflect how poorly he played. So, Tagovailoa has signed a 4-year, $212 million extension with $160 million in guarantees in July 2024. And now the question is, what is the decision that is being made? Maybe we don't want to read in between the lines a little too early on this, but in my opinion, look, you're already out of the postseason. There is nothing that you could gain or you could take advantage for Tua to be out there on the field. He's had tendencies in the past with getting injured. This is also in 3 games, gives you multiple games to kind of get an analysis of what your rookie quarterback in Quinn Ewers looks like. I don't know if Quinn Ewers is going to be your solution. I think that you just simply bench Tua because you're not fighting for everything now, and let this rookie kind of see what he has to offer and see if he may be a good backup quarterback for the future. It becomes apparent that Joe Burrow will be playing the remainder of the season. And I would honestly be in the same boat that Miami's in if it was me. Why play Joe Burrow and risk him getting hurt if there's nothing that we're playing for? That's my question. I would honestly consider benching Joe Burrow for the remainder of the year. Say, look, I'm sorry that the season didn't turn out the way we wanted it to be. I know you're upset. We're kind of all upset. It's going to be a rough 3 weeks, regardless if we win or not. Our goals are to still win, but I would want you to rest and stay healthy and get ready for next season, and we can get back out there working on it. That's my pitch to Joe Burrow. We know Joe Burrow is out there. He wants to play. I just don't see a purpose. Regardless if you could win the next 3 games or not, yeah, you're just fighting for speculations. You're just fighting for a solid conversation out there. Best, record for division and this on and this forth, but it's not going to really do anything for you. I don't see the purpose of why Joe Burrow go out there. But Tua Tagovailoa, I don't think we're looking too far into this for Tua. Yeah, everything is on the table, but, there's a lot of things in Miami that needs to be changed other than, I don't know if it's the quarterback. I don't think it's Tua. 22 to 28, it's not great numbers. 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he took 4 sacks. And he threw 1 interception, but where are the errors allowed to be given? In 14 games this season, Tagovailoa only completed 67%, which is average. Passes 2,660 yards with 20 touchdowns in the league, leading 15 interceptions. So I think it's great. I don't think you move on from Tagovailoa over anything. I think you have Tyreek Hill, who suffered a season-ending injury in late September. Everything kind of just has been unraveled down below. So I don't know. I don't buy too much into all of this, except for, hey, we want to rest you. Let's put you on the bench, and we'll go from there. But that is a little sneak preview of what we're looking at. We have a rookie quarterback for the Dolphins, and it almost should be an easy win for the Bengals. Which, if we're gonna have Joe Burrow out there, let's go ahead and win. I want to win. So, but that is all the time I have for you in today's episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I appreciate everyone's support, whether you are listening to us from one of our audio platforms or watching us on our social media accounts. Please be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for more information. Don't forget to have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.